When I tell you that you're going to be shocked when you see in this new NFL mock draft where they have Anthony Richardson going, I mean it 100%. I guarantee it. This NFL draft is really, and I mean really interesting, ladies and gentlemen, because some of the guys at the top of the board, nobody knows how to feel about them. Or my bad, that's a bad way to say it. Let me change that. People do know how to feel about them, but it's mixed opinions. And to be honest, I can't remember the last time there was this much drama surrounding some of the top picks in the draft. I mean, heck, y'all saw it happen yesterday with the potential #1 pick, Jalen Carter. He has a warrant out for his arrest. Outside of that, though, it looks like there's two quarterbacks who are extremely polarizing. Quarterback number 1, Will Levis, and quarterback number 2, Anthony Richardson. Why are they polarizing, you may ask? Oh, well, it has a little something to do with they weren't too good in college. Whoa, hold on. I already know what some of you about to do. You're going to run to the comment section and say, oh, Matt, well, Will Levis, he played for a terrible team, and same thing for Anthony Richardson. Their offensive lines, they weren't great, and I already know this. I understand that argument, but at the end of the day, when you look at their stats and numbers, they weren't that good, and even on the eye test, they weren't that good. But the reason people have them going so high is because of one thing and one thing only: potential. That's it. You're just banking on these guys that they're going to reach their full potential one day, and people fail to realize just because you have potential doesn't mean you're going to reach it. We call it potential for a reason. You haven't tapped into it. Whereas guys like CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, they don't just have great potential, they're already great quarterbacks. You see what I'm saying? Your Bryce Youngs and CJ Strouds of the world, that's a safer pick. With all that being said, though, in today's video, we're here to talk about the newest NFL mock draft that came out, and I can't even believe it's real. As a matter of fact, I had to do a double take on it because I thought it was a joke. I thought somebody made it up, but no, it's legit. When I tell you that you're going to be shocked when you see in this new NFL mock draft where they have Anthony Richardson going, I mean it 100%. I guarantee it. It's unreal, it really is. We're going to talk all about it in today's video. As most of you know, I'm still recovering from surgery on my mouth. I'm getting better. I think y'all can tell from the tone of my voice, I'm getting slightly better. All right, Matt, blah, blah, sugar, grab up. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Oh yeah, first things first, I want to read this off to you that Mr. Charles sent to me on Twitter. Thank you for this, by the way. He said, so I just watched your video on Jalen Carter, so I take it no one watched and saw what happened in the Ruggs situation. For those of you that don't know what he's referring to, he's talking about what happened with Henry Ruggs. And what he's talking about is, in that Ruggs situation, in the car that crashed and, you know, all that mess that went on, Henry Ruggs was going like 100-something miles per hour. I don't remember exactly what it was, and there's no need of looking it up, but it was fast. And in the Jalen Carter situation, he was racing along somebody else that was going 104 miles per hour. I'm really glad that Charles sent this to me because it's a question that I have till this day, and it will never be solved. I don't understand it. Like I told you guys in yesterday's video, there's no excuse whatsoever to go over 100 miles per hour. I don't care. The only explanation is you're just being reckless. You can call it having fun, doing this, doing that, but it's reckless and it's dangerous. Number 2, if you're a normal person and you're driving reckless, I'm not saying it's okay, but I guess try to validate that because let's say you're not risking generational wealth. That doesn't mean your life isn't meaningless, but you get what I'm trying to say. Whereas a guy like Jalen Carter, Henry Ruggs, your family is depending on you for generational wealth. And also at the same time, by you being flat out stupid and driving reckless, you're risking wealth for yourself. Oh man, I just don't get it. I really don't. I brought this up to say this at the beginning of the video. Please be safe out there. You're gonna make mistakes in this life. Trust me, we're all gonna make mistakes, but you gotta try to limit those. And one of the best ways you can do this is hang around the right people. Do not get involved in the wrong crowd. Yet again, thank you to my man Charles for sending that to me, but let's get into the business and what we need to get down to. Get into the business and what we need to get down to. Does that make sense? I don't know. Let's roll with it. I'm excited to get into this. Let me know in the comment section. Do you enjoy when we talk about the mock draft and all the NFL stuff? Because I do. If y'all want to see me continue to talk about some mock drafts, just let me know. But anyway, starting out hot, and we're going to work our way up. At number 30, this one is kind of notable to me. They got Bijan Robinson, running back for Texas, coming off the board, going to the Eagles. Bijan Robinson is my running back 2 in this up-and-coming NFL draft. At number 1, I got Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama. Jahmyr Gibbs is more of your all-around package, similar to an Alvin Kamara. That's the greatest comparison I can use. Whereas for Bijan Robinson, and I know this is a bold statement, but he reminds me a lot of Reggie Bush. Regardless, a good pickup. Moving along here at 23, another notable one, we got Jackson Smith-Njigba, the Ohio State wide receiver. If the Vikings can land this guy, I think that's a steal at 23. At 21, you get the Tennessee wide receiver coming off the board, Jalen Hyatt. That one's interesting, going up here. At 18 in the lines, they get the tight end from Notre Dame. Yeah, nothing else really to talk about until we get into the top 10. These two are somewhat notable. At 14, you got another wide receiver, Quentin Johnson from TCU. He's a stud. And at number 11, no, my bad. At 12, you got Jordan Addison, USC wide receiver. There's a lot of wide receiver talent in this up-and-coming draft, and I'm going to be really curious to see where these guys go. Because I think you can make a case and an argument and say, hey, Jackson Smith-Njigba, he may be the first wide receiver taken off the board. All these wide receivers in this draft, they're all 1A, 1B. They're really good. But getting into our top 10 here, starting it out at number 8, you see it, CJ Stroud going to the Ravens. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. The only way I guess that makes sense to me, if I hope I'm understanding that correctly, is if the Ravens move on from Lamar Jackson. Because you see right here, this would be via mock trade from the Atlanta Falcons, which would, I guess, also insinuate that the Falcons would get Lamar Jackson. I think I'm right on that. I could be wrong here, I do apologize, but moving on up here to the top 5, this is where the controversial Will Levis, quarterback from Kentucky, he's going to the Panthers. Yeah, that'd be interesting. At number 4, you got Will Anderson, which is really low for him. And at number 3, you got Jalen Carter. Number 2, you got Bryce Young. So you know what that means. Guess what? Your number 1 overall pick is going to be Anthony Richardson. Oh man, let's talk about it. I can't believe this, I really can't. One of the guys who helped put this mock draft together, here's what he stated, quote unquote. And by the way, this mock draft is from CBS Sports. He's going to blow the roof off Lucas Oil Stadium at the Combine, and there's just going to be such a stark difference between Anthony Richardson as a physical and athletic specimen and Bryce Young. Interesting. And I do agree with that. When you compare side by side Anthony Richardson and Bryce Young, yeah, there is a huge difference. Anthony Richardson is dang near pushing 6'5", 230, and Bryce Young, according to some people, is only 5'10", 180. I did see recently Bryce Young measured at about 6'1.5", but he was in cleats. So yes, I'll give you that. Anthony Richardson, he looks like a Ferrari on the outside, but when you step into the car, he's built like a Honda. Vice versa for Bryce Young. He's built like a Honda on the outside, but when you step in, he's built like a Ferrari. One thing I've always been right on when evaluating players, I've been doing this for years now, is I never try to overthink it. And it turns out I'm always right. You know why? Because I'm not one of these nerds following up all these weirdo, analytical, nerdy nerd stats. Because at the end of the day, I don't care about stats. I care about the eye test. Well, let me change that. I do care about stats, but it's not as much as most people. I'm not going to sit up here and say stats and numbers don't matter, because if they didn't matter, we wouldn't keep up with them. We wouldn't talk about them. But my point is, nowadays in 2023, with analytics being the newest and greatest thing, people are now overlooking how good players are. People nowadays just try to overcomplicate it when it's not that hard. If a guy can play, a guy can play. There's no reason for me to watch Bryce Young dice up SEC defenses, carry Alabama to a championship they had no business even being at, and go, oh yeah, well, he's only 5'11". That concerns me. Like, what? What does that matter? May I remind you, Jalen Carter played on the Georgia team that Bryce Young diced up in the SEC championship game and dropped 41 points. I bring that up to say this. They're saying, oh, well, how's Bryce Young going to do at the NFL level? He beat a Georgia team that had 5 first-round NFL picks on the defensive side of the ball. So if you don't know what I'm trying to say is, here's what I'm saying. Bryce Young has already been playing NFL talent, and he's been destroying them. That's not my opinion. That's a cold, hard fact. Whereas in 2021, Anthony Richardson played that same Georgia team, and you know what? Why don't we pull up the stats? Oh, well, would you look at that? 12 for 20, 82 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 INTs, quarterback rating of 44. That's interesting. Bryce Young against that same Georgia team, 26 for 44, 421 yards with 3 touchdowns, 0 INTs, and a quarterback rating of 98.1. That Georgia team had 5 first-round picks and is considered the best defensive team of all time at the college football level. I bring that up to say this. I'm not trying to knock Anthony Richardson, but Bryce Young at this moment in time is a better quarterback than him. And I mean this in the most respectful way possible. It's not even that close. And when you're drafting inside the top 5, especially at number 1, this is common knowledge, you do not take a risk. If you're drafting in the top 5, you got to take a guy where you're like, okay, we can bring him in tomorrow and he can win us a game. So let me ask y'all this. If you was running the Indianapolis Colts or the Houston Texans and you play tomorrow with the team you have and you get to choose between Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, Who you picking? I think everybody with a functional brain is picking Bryce Young tomorrow. Yes, maybe in 5 years you would pick Anthony Richardson, but that's not the question. The question is, who would you take tomorrow? I like the Anthony Richardson kid as a person, and it seems like he works really hard, but there's no way I'm touching him even inside the top 10. He's a project quarterback. He's not going to start next year. And if he does start, he's going to be in for some trouble. And if y'all want me to be really honest, I have a hard time even trying to convince myself I'd take him inside the top 20. Maybe if I had a 19th or 20th pick, I'd take the risk, but that's pushing it. I truly believe that Anthony Richardson is one of, if not the greatest prospects in this draft, but he's not a great quarterback. He's nowhere even close to being the greatest quarterback. The key word I just said, prospect. He's a prospect. You got to work on him. When you talk about Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, you're like, oh yeah, he's going to come in and he could start tomorrow. We'll see what happens. We'll see. Let me know your thoughts down below. But, Billy.